Hey everybody, Rob here at etrailer.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the CURT Class 3 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2020 Chevrolet Blazer. Now I know you may be wondering where the hitch is, and that's the really nice thing about the Blazer and our CURT hitch. When we're not using it, we're not even going to be able to tell it's there. But if we come down to the bottom, we just turn these two tabs, then we can pull it out, and that's going to expose our hitch. That way we can still have that really clean, almost OEM look when we're not towing, but our hitch is available for us when we need to. Now our hitch is going to be a Class 3, which means it's going to give us that 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, and that's going to have the widest variety when it comes to options for accessories we can mount up. Now obviously when people think of a hitch, they think of a trailer automatically. Well, don't get me wrong, we can completely put a ball mount in there, tow a trailer if we need to, but at the same time we're going to be able to make some room on the inside of our Blazer. We put a cargo carrier in there and move all that gear to the outside, or if we just want to take a day trip, take some bikes with us with some friends, we could put a bike rack in there. But however we're going to be using our hitch, all of our accessories are going to mount through the hitch pin hole here on the side. Our hitch is going to accept a standard 5/8 pin and clip. Now these are not going to come with the hitch, but you can find them here at etrailer.com, along with some locking devices to keep your accessories secure and anti-rattle devices to take out that annoying rattling sound when we're driving down the road. But if you are going to be towing a trailer, obviously you need a spot to hook up your safety chains. And our connection point is going to be a loop style welded at the bottom of the receiver tube. And whether you have some of these normal, smaller size hooks, got plenty of room, or even if you have those really large oversized hooks, there's still room to get those hooked on and take them off. Now regardless of how you're going to be using your hitch, you want to make sure that it's going to be up to the task that you put it to. So as far as the weight rating goes, our hitch is going to have a 750-pound tongue weight. That's going to be the maximum downward force pushing on the end of the receiver tube. Now to put that in perspective, that number is pretty high for our Blazer, so it's really going to be able to maximize the carrying capacity of those really large cargo carriers, or really be able to take maybe even 5 up to 6 bikes with us on a bike rack. Now it's also going to have a 5,000-pound gross trailer weight rating. That's how much the hitch can pull, but that does include the trailer and everything we have loaded on it. Now it is designed to work with weight distribution systems as well, and that's going to be a separate component that's mounted on your trailer. The tongue weight is going to stay the same when you use weight distribution, but the gross trailer weight rating is going to bump up to 6,000 pounds. Now with all those numbers in mind, you do want to double check your Blazer's owner's manual, because that's the rating for our hitch, and we don't want to exceed the manufacturer's rating for our car. I'd like to give you a few measurements, and these are going to help you out whenever you're looking for accessories for your new hitch, like a ball mount, a bike rack, or even a cargo carrier. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost edge of the bumper is right about 6 inches. Now that measurement's going to come in handy when you're looking at folding accessories to make sure you have enough room and that they're not going to come in contact with the rear bumper while they're in the stored position. From the ground to the inside top edge of the receiver tube opening is right about 18 inches. Now that measurement's going to help you out when you're looking for a ball mount so you can find the appropriate rise or drop and match it up to your trailer. Now that we've seen what our hitch looks like and gone over some of the features, let's go through the installation together. To begin our installation, we want to come to the very back of our Blazer. Now in the center here, you'll see this seam. We need to pull this panel down. So at the very bottom, we'll find 2 turn knobs. We just want to turn those counterclockwise, quarter turn, and we can pull the panel down. Now there are some clips up here, so it'll loosen itself up, but then we're going to have to kind of pull outward to release those clips, and we'll set this panel aside. Now just the outside, towards the outside of our Blazer, we'll have another fastener that's holding it at the bottom of the fascia, just to the outside of where that panel was. We're going to grab a T15 Torx bit, we'll unscrew that screw, and we'll have one on the other side of that panel. So we want to pull that out as well. Now at this point we need to lower our exhaust so we can get some more room right above the muffler. But before we do that, we want to make sure we put up a support strap so our exhaust doesn't come down too far and cause any damage. So you just want to find a solid connection point, then I'm going to tighten up that strap and we can start loosening up all the hangers. So our first couple of exhaust hangers are going to be right by our tailpipe. If we look directly up, we can see the rod that's connecting it to the actual hanger. And if we move over, we'll see that it's going to be attached to the bumper here on the frame using 2 bolts. So we grab a 15mm ratcheting wrench, socket, or whatever you have available, and we're going to pull out these 2 bolts. Now once we have both bolts removed, the hanger is probably going to still sit still. And that's because there's a little rod that the hanger is sitting on. So we need to lift upward a little bit. Then we kind of want to twist and pull away from the back of the vehicle so we can let that hanger down. Now we're going to have another one on the other side right by our other tailpipe, so we'll remove that as well. Now our exhaust didn't come down quite as far as we wanted it to, so we just followed our exhaust up to right in front of the rear axle, and we'll find another hanger that's going to be right behind our fuel tank. Just take a little bit of spray lubricant, make it easier for those hangers to slide off that rubber isolator. And then we can use a pry bar, just use the pipe to kind of use as leverage. We're just going to slide that isolator off. Now before you slide it off, you kind of want to make sure that that strap is nice and secure so that it doesn't come down too far. We can always loosen the strap to give us more room if we need to. So this will be more than enough room. We have plenty of room to get the hitch above the exhaust. We got plenty of slack in the lower fascia so we can kind of pull out on it, get everything where it needs to be. And we have plenty of room right underneath the frame rail, which we can move to so I can point out the attachment points. Now we look on the bottom of the frame here, we're going to have several holes. We should have 3 holes that are going to be relatively smaller than 1 large hole. The 3 small holes are going to be our attachment points, and the large hole is going to be our access hole so we can get our hardware in place. Now they're going to be exactly the same on both sides. If we grab one of the bolts from our kit, you'll realize real quickly that it's not going to fit in. Then we can grab our square hole spacer block, double check that as well. That doesn't fit in either. So we're going to need to enlarge this hole just big enough to where we can get the hardware to go through. I'm going to be using a step bit with a drill just to enlarge it a little bit. And you kind of want to periodically check because we only want to take away enough material to get the hardware in place. Now that we have this hole enlarged enough to get both pieces in the frame, we want to move to the other side of the frame rail and do the same thing with the other access hole. So to get our hardware in place, I'm going to take our pull wire with the coiled end on it, put a slight bend, we're going to come to the very furthest rear attachment point, put our coiled end in the attachment point hole, and then the goal is to have it come back out the access hole. Now you want to make sure that both the coiled end and the tail end are both still outside the frame and it didn't fall in. We'll grab our square hole spacer block, slide it over our coiled wire, slide it into the frame, then we'll take our carriage bolt, thread it onto the end of the wire, push that in the frame, and we want to pull on our pull wire until we can get the bolt to come through and engage the block. And it's going to be the same process for the other 2 remaining holes on this frame rail and the same thing in the other locations on the other frame. I do suggest leaving the pull wires attached to the bolts because that way it'll be a little bit easier when we lift our hitch and we don't have to worry about pushing the bolts back in the frame. Now, I suggest getting an extra set of hands at this point because we're going to be lifting our hitch in place. Now we want to grab our pull wires and we're going to poke them through the top going down to the corresponding holes in the side plates. We're going to make sure you get them all going through the hitch, make it a lot easier to guide it up and get the bolts to come through. Then you want to lift up on your hitch. Kind of want to go back behind the muffler so you can clear the fascia. So we'll lift up so we can sneak our hitch in place. And we lift it up, making sure all those bolts come through. And if they don't, that's why we have our pull wires still attached. Once we have them up and they're coming through, pull one of the pull wires off. You want to get a flange nut out of your kit, and we want to get at least 1 on each side loosely started. That way the hitch will support itself and we don't have to worry about it falling down. Once we have one on each side, we can work on going back through and putting the hardware on all the other pieces. And it's going to be the same thing for each one. I'm going to get a hex nut. It's hand tight for now. Now once you do have all your hardware in place, you want to come back with a 3/4 inch socket. You can also use a 19mm, but we're going to snug up all the flange nuts. Once it's all snugged down, you want to make sure you come back with a torque wrench, torque all your hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. We'll go back and repeat that for all of our remaining hardware. At this point, we want to get our muffler pretty close to being back in place. You want to be mindful of those hangers when you're lifting it up. Make sure they get inside the fascia. And then I lifted it up and just kind of tightened up that strap so I can get that first rubber isolator furthest forward started, and then we can put the other hangers at the tailpipes back in as well. So now for our hangers at the tailpipes here, here's that little notch. It needs to fit over this little notch that's on the frame. So again, we kind of need to lift up the end, twist it outward, and then we can slide that hanger back towards the front of the car, and it'll hold itself in place. Then we can reinsert the factory bolts and tighten everything up. And with the exhaust supported again, we can remove the strap that was supporting it earlier. Then we can reinstall those 2 Torx screws at the very bottom of the fascia. And then we can actually put that knockout panel back on, so we have a nice clean appearance on the back of our Blazer when we're not towing. But that'll finish up your look and installation at the CURT Class 3 custom fit trailer hitch receiver on our 2020 Chevrolet Blazer.